stack of lean. I need green enough see quantities for a fiend. Save the dreams for a king. This is H-Town, home of the lean. Astros is the team and we rock it. We rock Texans for life, you can't stop it. Together like brothers and bets and jets.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's LJ from H-Town back again with another episode of RaWordz podcast. I have been gone a while, but hey, we back, ready to get some money. And I got a lot of looks for you people. So come on in, join the party, get your pencils and your papers out, and let's get some money. Because I'm going to give y'all some future plays on NFL, NBA, and team totals of the NHL. So everybody come join me. I'm going to let some people come in here. I know my boy Matt Stoney in here already. So he's always looking to make some money. So, it's all good. You're not late though, Matt. You're not late. You're right on time. You're right on time. So let's get to this. I've been doing a lot of capping. Like I said, trying to get this money for all y'all. So we're going to do it like this. We're going to start off with the NFL because we got week 10 coming up. And we already know that now that we know the tendencies of these teams, we can pretty much dissect to see what they do good and pretty much what they do bad. So we're going to go on and get into this because we got Thursday night football. We got the Falcons versus the Panthers. Both these teams, they give up 25 points a game on defense. Falcons are bottom 10 in 3 offensive categories. Carolina is bottom 10 in 9 offensive categories. So as for you, I'm not betting a side in this game. And I usually would take a prop in this game, but the Falcons give up the most pass completions in the NFL so far through week 10. But the Panthers quarterback, I really can't trust. He came from the XFL, so he doesn't really have the arm strength, and I don't believe he has the experience to come in, to the NFL and be consistently a 25, 26 plus completion pass on quarterback. So I stayed off that. I usually take a quarterback against Mariota with the Falcons. So we'll think about that next week. I do another show. I'm going to start doing the show once a week, looking towards the future, looking at certain games to give y'all a little look ahead to, maybe y'all can research it for yourselves, look at the looks, see how it, pans out a couple of weeks. And hey, maybe you'll take the advice and jump on. But I'm just here to give y'all information. It's plenty of ways to make money. We always don't have to take a side. You can key in on certain players and you can cash because these bookies haven't caught up with these averages yet. We got to jump on them while they quick now. So I'm going to give y'all the insight, give y'all little angles and strategies that y'all can look at and make sure y'all pay attention. We can hop on and get this money. So let's move on to the Texans and the Giants because everybody knows the Texans rush defense is dead last in the NFL and they allow 117 in the last 5 games. So they're going against the Giants, who has a horse in the backfield as Saquon Barkley, who's averaging 115 rushing yards in his last 5 games. So we definitely going to be on that prop. Saquon Barkley over his rush yards. It's usually probably going to be set at 90, considering how many rush yards the Texans do give up. So I'm pretty sure the bookies are going to set it probably at a high 90, close to 100. So, but even still, it's still money because you can run on the Texans defense. So I expect that prop to cash probably in the first half. So we're on Saquon Barkley on Sunday over rush yards versus the Texans. I'm not going to go through all the games because, it's not a lot of props in this week, so I'm definitely going to take the Bills over the Vikings with the spread. The Vikings only average 9 points in the first half on the road. The Bills only give up 9 points on defense at home. So I think Buffalo can cover that spread, take care of business versus the Vikings. I'm going to take that side. But as far as the Lions and the Bears, as we all know, the Lions are just like the Texans. They're allowing 146 yards on the ground on the road. And we know that Justin Fields likes to scramble. And he has hit his 50-yard rushing prop 5 out of the last 6 games. So we're definitely going to be on Justin Fields. He's averaging 106 yards in his last 3 games. So whatever they set that rush yard prop at this Sunday, we're on Justin Fields over rush yards with the Bears over the Lions. Jaguars and Chiefs. interesting game right here because we already know the Chiefs can't cover spreads, and they almost blew the game versus the Titans last week. But Mike Vrabel wanted to stop running the ball and trust a backup quarterback to make some third down plays and completions, which we don't understand why. But hey, he's the coach. He goes down with the ship. I just watch the games and try to make money off your mistakes. So we definitely did that. We cashed the Chiefs second half. So thank you, Mike Vrabel, for live betting and letting us make some money. So back to the game, though. The Chiefs only averaged 9 points in the first half on the road, at home. I'm sorry, and they only scored 9 points against the Titans last Sunday night, I believe, at home. And I had Titans +8. So I believe we can go back to the Jaguars on the road plus the number first half over the Chiefs because the Chiefs are usually down, and the Chiefs are 4-0 when trailing by 8+ points. So they could get down and come back in this game. We already know that. So they are a second half team as well. And the Jaguars allow 280 yards passing on the road versus the opposing quarterback. And Patrick Mahomes has went over 280 his last 4 games. So I'm going to be interested to see what number they set that Patrick Mahomes passing yards prop this Sunday. And if it's reasonable enough to be around 260, 270, under 280, which the Jaguars are giving up, I think that would be a bet on prop as well. So let's be paying attention to Patrick Mahomes passing yards Sunday, roughly around 260, 270, around that range. I think that's a for sure bet, considering he's went over 280 plus his last 4 games. Browns and Dolphins is going to be an interesting game as well. The Browns are allowing 144 passing yards on the road versus the opposing quarterback, and Tua is averaging 239 passing at home. So it's going to be an interesting contrast of can the Browns hold Tua to under his average passing yards at home. I'm going to look more into the number on Sunday. I'm probably not going to take the bet, but it's just an interesting contrast of styles there that I researched and looked up. Far as the Saints and Pittsburgh, both these teams give up a lot of points. Wasn't no props in there. I looked at the Colts and the Raiders. The Raiders should destroy the Colts. They hired Jeff Saturday as their coach, fired Frank Wright. I don't think the Colts are going to have a different type of attitude to go on the road and beat the Raiders, who did get shut out versus the Saints last Sunday. So Josh McDaniels should be thirsty for a win, considering he's getting a coach that just came out of the ESPN chair on TV and now coaching an NFL team. So that should be motivation enough for you, Mr. Daniels, to get you a nice win at home versus the Colts, which are only averaging 1 point in the first half on the road and 7 points in the second half on the road. So let's take care of business, Josh McDaniels. I believe you will at home. Coming off a shutout loss, being embarrassed versus the Saints. Yeah, you should take care of business versus Jeff Saturday, new head coach of the Colts, with a backup quarterback as well. So let's move on to the Cowboys and the Packers. Cowboys are allowing 16 points on defense. Packers are only allowing 83 yards passing at home from the opposing quarterback. So definitely going to be looking at Dak Prescott under passing yards. I believe the Cowboys are going to have to run the ball pretty much to be in this game. And don't be surprised if this is an upset. So I'm calling it here. Packers could upset the Cowboys this Sunday in Green Bay. So you heard it here first. RaWordz podcast, LJ from H-Town. Just think about that while Sunday approaches. Cardinals and Rams. We know that Sean McVay owns Cliff Kingsbury. Cardinals do play better on the road. They are allowing 26 points on the road. But the Rams are bottom 10 in 6 offensive categories. And they let Tampa Bay just come back on them on Sunday night. So this game could go either way, in my opinion. I believe the Cardinals can cover the points. It's +3. I believe this is a one-score game. Field goal, maybe. But you just never know with the Cardinals. I am going to be on DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown. Whatever it is, just take it for the rest of the season, because I do believe that he's been suspended and hurt. He wants to play. He's been itching to get on the field. And I do believe that you can put a bet on DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown for the rest of the season, playoffs or not. That's just my suggestion. I think I'm going to invest in that. Let's move on to the Chargers and the 49ers. Interesting game right here. 49ers are coming off a bye. And the 49ers allowed 27 pass completions at home to the opposing quarterback. Justin Herbert's averaging 29 completions, 28 on the road, and 30 in his past 2 weeks. So we do understand that they don't run the ball. So Austin Eckler's under rushing yards will definitely be a play this week because the 49ers only allow 68 rushing yards at home. So Austin Eckler under his rush yards, definitely write that down, mark it, and make sure you put that bet in whenever the prop bets come out for Sunday against the Chargers versus the 49ers. And consider Justin Herbert's pass completions as well. But Austin Eckler, definitely put your money on the under rush yards this week against the 49ers. As far as the Commanders and Eagles, usually Jalen Hurts, is a bet on rush yards. But Washington has a good rush defense. They don't give up a lot of yards on the ground. You got to attack them through the air. But the Eagles have the best turnover margin at home at plus 2.8. So they could get 2 turnovers in this game and blow them out. So it's a division game. Those are, we all know those are tricky and don't really have a prop on that one. But, those are just some look aheads as far as the NFL week 10. So we can move on to the NBA. And I got a couple people in here. Earl, what's going on, my friend? I'm usually hanging out with these guys here on Nerd Talk, which comes on Wednesday night, which is tomorrow. You got picks from Dave, the Earl brothers who, have their game decision show. So check them out. And we will be on there tomorrow night discussing these things as I'm doing now, just giving you look aheads. And we'll be picking our sides for the NFL tomorrow night and the NBA on Nerd Talk. I see you, Matt Stoney. We good. I ain't going nowhere. So let's get to this NBA. Because it's been 2 weeks, I do believe, a good 2 weeks, and I've been taking some good notes. And I do believe that I have some great looks that y'all can probably ride to Christmas towards the new year, because I believe these tendencies of these teams aren't going to change anytime soon. So we might as well get in and get out in cash while we can. So we're going to start off with the Golden State Warriors because they allow the most assists to the point guard position so far in the NBA. They've allowed, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9 guards to get A+ assists on them. They didn't let De'Aaron Fox get it. He had 6, and CJ McCullough only had 5. But they do have Darius Garland coming up on Friday, and they got De'Aaron Fox again on Sunday. And I do believe Darius Garland will get his assist prop. So be looking for Friday. Darius Garland assist prop versus the Golden State Warriors, because Golden State gives up the most points, assists to the point guard position. So that's a future look as well. We move on to Minnesota, who allows the second most assists to the point guard position. And I've been consistently cashing on this with every player that they've allowed 6+ assists to, including last game, Jalen Brunson, who had 8. And they have Chris Paul coming, they have John Morant coming, and they have Darius Garland coming. And I do believe that all 3 of those point guards will get their assist prop in those games. So Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, make sure you bet Minnesota point guard assist prop, which would be Chris Paul, John Morant, and Darius Garland. Now, I understand it may be juiced. Obviously we're not going to take it at a high juice price, but if they just think they're slick and think that, we don't understand the tendency of Minnesota and they'll set it at a reasonable average, as long as it's their average, I'm telling you it's a bet on, because it's early. These bookies don't know what these players are going to do. So as long as these players stay consistent, we can consistently cash and make money. So we're going to continue to do it until these bookies catch up. So let's move on to Boston. which has allowed a double-double to the center position in the Eastern Conference in every single game. And I can go down the list, Embiid, Vucevic, Jared Allen, Harkenstein even got a double-double with the Knicks on Boston because we already know they don't have Robin Williams in the lane. They don't have the size. So any center pretty much playing Boston is going to get their rebound prop. So we're looking ahead to Isaiah Stewart tomorrow night. We're looking at Jokic, and we're looking at Isaiah Stewart again on Saturday. So 3 straight games. They have a center that is able to get 10 plus rebounds. So if that number is at 9.5, that's a bet on. We're taking it. Jokic and Isaiah Stewart twice. The 3 games coming up versus Boston. You could possibly sprinkle the double-double as well, but I'm just giving out the rebound prop. So they should get 10 plus rebounds versus a weak presence in the paint of the Boston Celtics. Now, a bonus one for Boston that Marcus Smart. Hold on, let me get to it. Marcus Smart had 6 plus assists, 7 out of the 10 games Boston has played so far. So that's an interesting look as well. If you're looking at Marcus Smart, look at his assist prop, look and see who he's playing, which would be coming up Detroit and Denver, and see how many assists that they have given up to that position and see if Marcus Smart is a bet on there because I'm going to look tomorrow and see, and he might be. So honorable mention, Marcus Smart, 6 plus assists in 7 of the 10 games that Boston has played. Let's move on to Oklahoma City. Rebounds allowed to the center position. It's been at least 13 plus. Every center has gotten at least 13, 12. 12. William Carter Jr. and Bo. They got 12. But 12 plus in every game the center has played Oklahoma City. And Isaiah Stewart just got 12 the other night, which I cashed on. I put it out on Twitter. So if you follow me, you cashed on that. So they have Giannis coming tomorrow. They have Siakam on Friday. And they have Julius Randle on Sunday. So I do believe that they will get their rebound props in these games because Oklahoma City does not have a paint presence, and all these players should get their average because they're well above 6'11", 7 foot, and nobody can keep them out of the lane. Now, double-double is a possibility too because all 3 of these players can score. Giannis, Siakam, and Randle can get you 18. Siakam can get you 20. And, of course, Giannis, we know, can get you 30. So those are interesting looks as well. But we'll stick to the rebounds because they've allowed it to the center position in every single game. Every center has hit their rebound prop against Oklahoma City so far this season. Now, let's get to the Spurs. They allow the most steals in the NBA. And I wrote down all the ones that they have. Caldwell Pope got 3 plus steals last night, which I cashed on the over 1.5 because they set it at 2. And he got 3. Now, they have Ja Morant coming Wednesday. Ja Morant has had 5 steals in his last 4 games. So if it's set at over 1.5, we're definitely going to bet on Ja Morant to get 2 plus steals versus the Spurs tomorrow night. And they have Drew Holiday on Friday. And Drew Holiday is averaging 1.5 steals per game. So those 2 are bet-ons as well. Wednesday, Ja Morant versus the Spurs, over 1.5 steals. Friday, Drew Holiday versus the Spurs, over 1.5 steals. Book it. They will get 2 plus steals versus the Spurs, who have given up 2 plus steals to every point guard position. Not necessarily point guard, I'm sorry, but inside for us like Edwards, Paul George got 1, and Morris got 1. So I consider that 2, 2 players got 1. So you could steal on the Spurs is pretty much what I'm saying. So whoever's aggressive that's leading that team in steals should be able to get their steal prop. So Ja Morant, Drew Holiday for the Spurs. And now let's move on to Portland, who allows the second most steals in the NBA. And Jimmy Butler had 6 steals last night. So this is a bet on team as well to get your steal prop with the opposing opponent who averages the steals on their team. So they have the Hornets coming up, they have the Pelicans coming up, and they have Dallas coming up. Now, I haven't looked at the numbers because I don't think the Hornets are a top team in steals. I don't think the Pelicans are a top team in steals. So I'm going to probably not pay attention to that. because I'm just usually taking the players that's averaging top 10 maybe in that category. And I don't think they have any players on those teams that's in the top 10 averaging in steals. So usually stay away from things like that. I don't want to do extra work that I don't have to do because I know nobody is averaging, their prop on that team. So, that's an easy pass. So we all can understand that. So let's move on to the last one. Detroit, the most blocks allowed in the NBA. And they have given up 2+ blocks to pretty much every team player that had 2 blocks in that game. So Shea Gildress just got 4 blocks last night. He's not even an inside presence kind of guy. He stays on the perimeter, and he got 4 blocks. So you can just imagine how aggressive you can be with Detroit and take chances. So they have Boston coming up. So who's ever leading that team in blocks? Wouldn't be mad if you took the prop bet. I think Greg Williams is leading that team, to be honest, because he's in the starting lineup, I think, as well. So may take a shot on Greg Williams to get an over 1.5 block versus Detroit. Also, the Knicks. You could take Julius Randle, Hartenstein, whoever. Like I said, just go into the numbers, see, who's averaging the blocks in the last couple of games and see what you come up with. And they have Boston again. So they have Boston twice in the next 3 games, Detroit. So that's going to be a situation to where look at the rebounds for Detroit center and look at the blocks for whoever is in the paint for Boston. So there's going to be a contrast of styles as well. So those are, future looks. Oh, Cleveland. I forgot about Cleveland. They have the second most steals allowed in the NBA. And they had 3 players last night versus the Clippers that got 2+ steals versus them. So this is a bet on team as well that you can probably find a way to get their steal prop. They're playing the Kings, Golden State, and the Timberwolves the next 3 games. I haven't looked into the numbers. Steph Curry may be a play. Jordan Poole for Golden State may be a play because they're pretty aggressive on the perimeter and they could steal you, get you 2 easy. So I may play Golden State, Steph Curry or Poole. Kings, I have to look and see. I don't think De'Aaron Fox, averages 1.5 steals. And for us, the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards maybe is a good look, but I'll just dive into the numbers, more as well as the games approach. But I just want to throw those couple out there just so everybody can just get a feel of how you can look at the game differently and be able to make money instead of always just taking a side. It's not all about trying to pick the team to win. We can pick the players to win for us because we know they're going to do their job, but they can't trust that the other 4 players on the team are going to do their job. So as long as we cash with the player that's doing his job, hey, I'm fine, So I've already said I'm not taking any sides for this whole month. I'm going to let December come, and I'm going to see how these teams are looking, and then I can consider taking some sides, and trusting these teams can keep, their averages and do what they do. But let's get to some first half and first quarter stats. Because Dallas, they're 6-2-1 in the first half, and they're a bet on at home. They burned us a couple of times, but hey, it's the NBA. But we all know that Luka the Don, shout out to Dutch, because that's his guy. He's at 30+ points in all 9 of his games. 36, 9, and 8 is what he's averaging. So Luka's definitely going after that MVP. I wouldn't be mad if he get it because Luka is a G, and he holds it down out there for his team. And he makes things happen. He's the facilitator, the rebounder, and the assist. So, hey, Luka does it all. So, Dallas, first half, 6-2-1. So, if you're trying to bet size, I would just go first half with Dallas. Memphis, 8-3 in the first quarter. So, they come out fast. So, if you want to bet Memphis, look and see who they's playing. And if it's a team that's at the bottom, I would take Memphis first quarter because they're 8-3 straight up. New Orleans, 7-2-1 in the second half. So bet on second half, especially if they're down, it's easy to take their points because they show that they can come back and possibly win the game outright, but at least cover the spread in the second half. So we're going to New Orleans, 7-2-1 in the second half if you're trying to bet New Orleans. The Lakers, you fade them in the first quarter, 1-9. They've only won 1 first quarter out of 10 games. And they're also 0-3 ATS after a win. So when they win, you can fade them because they're not going to win the next game. So those are a couple trends for the Lakers. Phoenix, they're probably the best team in the Western Conference right now. They're 7-2 in the first half, 6-3 in the second half. So they slipped up against Philly last night. It happens. But Phoenix is a pretty much probably a bet on team so far. And we can choose to pretty much take them either way because their bench is shaky now and they don't have Cam Johnson anymore. So it may be a little digression. I'm going to have to wait and see. But I usually bet Phoenix second half when they're down because they're a good feisty team to where, if you poke the bear, they try to, sting you a little bit. So Phoenix is a pretty much second half team, in my opinion. You can take them first quarter because Devin Booker does lead the league in first quarter points. So if you take a chance on first quarter because 9 times out of 10 they will cover that. But second half is really where I want to make my money with Phoenix because they're averaging pretty much 59 points to 60 points in the second half. So that pretty much will win you a game. So the Clippers, 6-4-1 in the first quarter. So if you trust the Clippers, take them first quarter. If not, stay off. You can take Paul George points because he does it everything, and especially when you have another superstar on the other side, he's going to try to match that superstar. So Paul George, 30 points, 28, whatever they set it, just take it because he scores the most points. And also, sneaky one, John Wall. If he plays, he's probably hitting 5 or 6 assists per game that he plays. So if they set that number at 5.5 or 4.5, and John Wall plays, because he plays the most minutes off the bench when he plays. So I would take John Wall's assists if they set it at either 4.5 or 5.5. If they know for sure that he's ruled into the lineup. So honorable mention, John Wall. Oklahoma City, they are 7-3 in the first quarter and 7-3 in the second half. So they're pretty much an ATS team to where if the spread is +8 or more, Oklahoma City is pretty much going to cover that spread. So they're definitely a bet on team for as ATS. So I wouldn't mind you just betting on Oklahoma City blindly to cover a spread, especially 7+ points. Just blindly bet that. 9 times out of 10, they're going to win that. The Jazz are 9-3 in the first half. 7-1 ATS as a full game. So they cover spreads. They have a bench as well. Because a lot of those players they got from that Donovan Mitchell trade, that's sitting on the bench. And they could start somewhere else. Because you move Jordan Clarkson into the starting lineup. And, you got Larry Marketing. He's been playing out of his mind. So they have some players over there that fight. And Carl Sexton comes off the bench. And he can start somewhere else. So Utah is definitely a bet on team, especially when they're down. So you could probably take them first quarter and then take them for the full game. If the number, like I said, if it's 7+, that's too high for an NBA team usually to cover a spread. If you're just like, if you're a mediocre team, So I would do Oklahoma City and the Jazz to cover 7+ spreads, depending on the matchup, like I said. But usually those are for sure bets. Denver 7-2-1 in the first quarter, 3-1 ATS after a loss. So if you bet Denver, bet on the first quarter. I usually don't take Denver because they're too inconsistent for me. But they are a good first quarter team, as I see what the stats say. So I'll just pick and choose, when I want to play them and just, take my chances there. Orlando, 1-10 in the second half. So if they're up at halftime, you can pretty much bet on the other team to win the game. That's pretty much easier said than done. Just take whoever Orlando's playing, take that team in the second half. There you go. Philadelphia, 8-3 in the first quarter. So if you're going to take Philly, take them first quarter, and then don't worry about the rest of the game because you never know what to expect, especially with Embiid and Harden's not playing now. They can lose leads easily. So we'll see what happens. Boston is 7-2-1 in the first half, but they're only 1-3 ATS after a win. So if you're going to take Boston, take them first half. But if it's another team that's good in the first half, like I said, you have to compare the notes and the stats and see, is this other team good in the first half as well? So, and like I said, Boston, a lot of those players have to do a lot for that team to be successful. They don't have any inside presence. So they're very weak on the boards. And they pretty much is getting out rebounded every game. I think they out rebounded their last opponent by maybe 2 or 3 rebounds. It was very close, but every game Boston is going to get out rebounded. So I wouldn't bet on Boston. Probably it just depends on the matchup. And if they don't have a dominant center in the paint, then they probably should get away with the win. But it just depends with that. So that's just under your discretion. Toronto is definitely a bet on team. 7-3-1 in the second half, 5-3 ATS full game. So Toronto is definitely a bet on team, especially after a loss too. But they got to get healthy. Van Fleet, Siakam have to get back in that lineup. And once that happens, that's probably going to be the first team that I start betting on with a side, because they have a history of coming back, especially after a loss. And they're a good second half team. I've tracked them the last couple of years, and they cover the second half very well, especially when they're down. They don't let the foot off the gas. And that's what I like about Toronto. They fight to the end. And they have some guys over there that you can make some money. So definitely Toronto second half 7-2-1. The Bucks 6-2-1, 6-2 ATS after a win. They're 8-0-1 in the first quarter, 8-1 in the first half. Well, I'm sorry, 9-0-1 in the first quarter because they played last night, and 9-1 in the first half. So as long as Giannis in the lineup, take the Bucks first quarter, possibly first half. I usually just take first quarter, and I've been betting first quarter every game, and you can see that I won 9 and pushed 1. I haven't lost the first quarter yet. So I'm going to continue to ride that trend. It's been working, so why get off now? So if I was you, I would bet the Bucks first quarter until it just completely dies off. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. Cleveland is 7-3 in the second half, 7-1 ATS full game. So Cleveland covers the spread. I saw a little bit of Cleveland last night versus the Clippers, I do believe, and they play hard as well. And they shoot a lot of threes because that Donovan Mitchell has brought that mentality over to here because he's shot a lot of threes in Utah. But Donovan Mitchell has a team now way better than Utah that he could get to the Eastern Conference Finals. He has LeVert, he has Garland, he has some trees, he has Allen, he has Mobley that could score. He has 4 or 5 players that he could depend on to put the ball in the basket. He did not have that in Utah. So Donovan Mitchell definitely is very happy right now in Cleveland because this could catapult him to the Eastern Conference Finals in his first year. So be looking out for Cleveland. Pretty much a bet on team for the rest of the season, depending on health. Indiana, 7-2-1 in the second half. So when they're down, you can bet on them to come back in the second half and at least cover the spread. And as far as Indiana, we know Halliburton's assists, Miles Turner's blocks, but the bookies have them juiced now, especially Miles Turner. You have to get 3.5 blocks to get plus money with him because they know that Miles Turner is going to come in there and get you 3 blocks easy on a bad night. So if you're going to bet Indiana, bet their second half, with the spread, depending on how many points they're at. So those are some looks that I wanted to give y'all, just to give y'all some future plays. You already know Luka. You could take his points, rebounds, and assists because he leads the team in every category. You could take Jokic, points, rebounds, and assists because he leads his team in every category. Like I said, Halliburton has 8+ assists, 8 of his last 9 games. Desmond Bane has 6+ rebounds, 5 out of his last 9 games. He's had 28 points, 5 out of his last 7 games. So interesting to keep an eye on Desmond Bane as well because he's averaging 20 points. John Morant's averaging 20 points. So they're in that backcourt, scoring a lot for the Grizzlies. Buddy Hield, 5+ threes, 5 out of his last 6 games. And I cashed on Buddy Hield last night. So make sure you take Buddy Hield's 3-point prop until these bookies set it to where you can take it. But continue to do it until they come to their senses and understand that this guy can make 5 threes in a game. So Shai Gilgeous, 30 points, 6 out of his last 9 games. Giannis, 30+, 6 out of his last 9 games. And like I just mentioned, Donovan Mitchell, 30+ points, 7 out of his last 9 games. So he's consistently putting up numbers over there, and he has other players that he can facilitate to as well. So I haven't looked at Donovan Mitchell's assist props, but I'm pretty sure that's going to start rising as well. So I'm going to keep a close eye on that too. And also Kevin Durant. Shout out to Chris, be capping. He mentioned Kevin Durant. The fact that Kyrie Irving is out right now, Kevin Durant assists may go up a couple of notches, maybe two, So think about Kevin Durant's assists as well. His rebounds cashed the other night as well. So on a good night, KD can get his PRA. It just depends on where they set it at. They usually set it like 44, 45, and he usually gets like 40. He never hits over that because, he has to score as well. So, but usually it just depends on the matchup. We'll try to catch Durant's assist prop, when we can. Westbrook has been very good since he's went to the bench, averaging 18, 5, and 7. So I do believe Westbrook's PRA is probably a bet on as well. So we can look towards that the next couple of games to see who they're playing, because 9 times out of 10, Westbrook is going to be the better player on the bench than the opposing player on their bench. 9 times out of 10. I mean, it's a couple players out there that probably could go heads up with Russell. I'm sorry, but usually he's going to be the best player coming off the bench on the floor on each of those teams. So he should be able to consistently get 18, 5, and 7 off that bench. So be looking at Westbrook's PRA, 18, 5, and 7. And John Wall, like I mentioned earlier, 6+ assists, 4 out of his last 5 games, but he doesn't play a lot. So when John Wall's playing, take his assist prop because he gets 6 when he's in that game. So that's pretty much all I got. Just want to make a quick little show, let y'all know that I'm going to come with y'all every week. I'm going to study these notes. I'm going to make sure that we can find a way to make some money, because it ain't all about taking the side. And I'm going to put out a show also probably Sunday to get my NFL best prop bet, just for the people to put some last bets in just to see, because, injury reports happen. You got to make sure these guys practicing throughout the week. So I'm going to get an edited down version this week once the injuries reports come out. So definitely tell you for sure prop bets that I do take, because you can just follow me right there scrolling across the thing at LJ Sports Media. I put out my props, and I'm very transparent with y'all, and I'll let y'all know how I got to that prop. I give y'all the stat, and like I said, I just want y'all to understand that it's easy to get money and not always take a side. You can take these players because they're cashing for us. So I did have a couple of hockey plays for y'all. I'm not really capping hockey right now, but I just looked up some numbers to see, hey, how can I start making a little bit, just to get some trends going. So the Anaheim Ducks allow 4.5 goals to the opposing team. So if those numbers are set at 2.5, 3.5, whoever the Anaheim Ducks are playing, pretty much can take the team total. So I'll be giving some looks doing that week to let y'all know the look aheads for those. So the Kraken, Seattle Kraken, they've scored over 2.5 goals in 9 straight games. Now, they are playing tonight. So we could do this live right now to see how many goals, because it was set at 3.5. And I didn't take it because the number's 2.5. And as we can see, the bookies probably have caught on now to understand that they've hit that number 9 straight games. So I'm going to go in and see what are the Kraken right now. 4 goals for the Kraken. So I missed that money right there because the number was at 3.5. They have 4 goals in the second period versus the Predators. 4-0 Kraken. So that is 10 straight games that the Kraken have went over 2.5 goals. So that is a for sure bet. I see that we could just cash until it stops for the NHL. Seattle Kraken over 2.5. Let's try to go for the 3. If they're going to set it at 3.5, we may going to have to take a shot because now they've caught on. But if they start going back to 3, they may set it back at 2.5, and we can continue to cash money. Now, the last one is the Blue Jackets. The Columbus Blue Jackets have allowed 5+ goals 5 out of their last 7 games. So let's look at the Blue Jackets and see their next 5 games. If they're still giving up an average of 5+, that's going to be a trend that we're going to hop on until we see it changes. So those are the plays I have for y'all. Catch me tomorrow night on Nerd Talk, picks from Dave. Follow me on Twitter at LJ Sports Media, Facebook, LJ from Houston. And Like I said, hit me up on Twitter, whatever y'all want to know. Y'all can ask me suggestions. I'm very transparent. I give y'all my advice. And like I said, these are plays that I'm betting as well. I'm not just giving y'all any plays that I don't bet myself. And I'm trying to get everybody paid. I don't want to keep all the information to myself. I want us all to get money because it's us against the bookies, like my boy Jay Money say. We all trying to get paid. And like the famous words of Dutch, we trying to hit them over the head. So let's get this money. Appreciate my boy Man Stoney to being in the building. You know, he's always everywhere. Pub Sports, picks from Dave. You know, my man Stoney's everywhere. So represent, shout out to the chat. So like I said, I'm going to continue to do this every week. Go into the numbers. Make sure I give y'all the trends. Make sure I give y'all the stats. And we gonna cash checks, man. So until then, you already know it's LJ from H-Town. Follow me, like, subscribe, do all those good things, bro. Because we all trying to make money in this game. So until then, LJ from H-Town, and I will holla.
Yeah, R-A-W, words being served, no concern and no trouble to get that dough. Money on my mind, if it's money all the time, we be pumping on the grind. If it's LJ from Houston, pulling up stats, you'll be pulling in stacks, hitting bookies from the back with no Vaseline. I need